Good evening. Welcome to our
Good
interview.
evening.
Welcome to our interview series on Advent stories and Advent hope. We are so glad that you have joined us tonight, Patsy, with a story to share. So why don't we just jump right in and have you tell us a little bit about who you are and your faith background?
Okay. Well, my name is Patsy Sakowitz, maiden name of Jacob, and I am a lifelong member of Zion Lutheran Church. I am 70 years old. Glad to say that I've lived to 70 and hope to live many more years past this. My parents are Louise and Kervin Jacob. My dad is deceased for about 20 years now, but I was born into the church. I was baptized at the church, married in 1971 at Zion. My husband and I have two daughters. Sammy is our oldest, and Lori. They were both as well born, within membership of Zion Lutheran Church and baptized. And Lori was married at Zion Lutheran Church. So long background. No other church, no other reason or feeling to go to another church. It's just been part of my life since then. I have two sisters, one older and one younger, so I'm the middle child. Whatever that may mean in the birth order, I don't know. It seems to make me a little bit indecisive, and it seems to make me want to be pleasing to please everybody. But I'm the middle child, and there was one point in time, my sisters and I, between us, have 7 children, and there was one time, a long time at Zion, that some of you may know or may remember, that we all had children. We had 7 children within 5 years, and so all of my sisters and their husbands and my parents and all of our children were all a part of Zion. It was just like we had our spot in the pews, and that's where we sat. And so a lot of family history with Zion goes there. I have been a part of the music program with singing and with playing bells for many years. I no longer sing in the choir. My voice just doesn't hold up to the beauty that you guys need to hear as part of the worship. So I no longer participate in the choir, but if and when we get back into the sanctuary and play bells again, I will happily be a ringer again, because we really enjoy that. So I love the music program at Zion. And I have been in and out of different committees and leadership roles at Zion for years. I've served on the what was then the church council many years ago. I'm currently at the end of my first year term as your advisory board president, and I have another year to go for that. So I am part of that group of people that is there to serve you and to help with your leadership and to be God's spirit in the church and to try to make things happen as he sees them to do. So that's kind of where I fit in. But most of all, I am your friend, and I am just a part of the whole membership of Zion.
Thank you, Patsy. It is lovely to learn all this about you, even though I've known you since we've started, which is only 8 months ago. It's really nice to hear more of your story, and I imagine it's nice for lots of folks to fill out some of those pieces. So thank you for sharing. So as part of
Sure.
this series, we are asking folks to share stories from their own life about a time when they struggled or when life was difficult. I wonder if something comes to mind for you that you would share with us.
Yes, I struggled with this question, trying to bring something to mind that I could share that would fit into this category. And I'm not sure exactly that this story does, but it has to do with our youngest daughter, Lori, and it has to do with the period of time when she was in high school. So I think it was between her sophomore and junior year. That puts it back into the early 90s, I guess. So Sam and I were younger, more newly married than we are here 50 years later. And Lori was very active athletically, and she was tried to do every kind of sport that she could. And she was on a diving team. She was a swimmer and she was a diver. And she was part of the diving team that practiced and was affiliated with the University of Houston. It wasn't their college sport, but the coach at University of Houston was their diving coach. So these were high school, some of them may have been junior high, but mostly high school age students that met and practiced after school and were in competitions and on weekends and things like that. So she was in diving. And the summer between sophomore and junior year, they were going to go to a diving competition in Florida. And so, you know, as parents do, you sign all the forms and you sign all the release forms, and the team rented a van. And I am really bad with details. It's been enough years ago that I have forgotten a lot of the major details, but I know that there were between 12 and 15 total that were in the van. Most of them were all high school. The coach's name was Jane. Jane and her mother went as chaperones, and all the others were the high school students that were part of the diving team. And so we go to U of H and we kiss them and hug them goodbye and get them situated in their van and hope for a good week of practice and competition in Florida and send them on their way. So we all do that as parents. You know, the kids go on a field trip and you send them off and just know that they're going to be safe on the other end. Well, I think they were traveling through the night, but I remember distinctly on a Friday morning, I left home and went to work and walked into Jake's. I worked at a family business, and I worked into Jake's, and this brings back a lot of emotion. And my husband Sam was there and handed me the phone. And what happened was there was a terrible accident with the van. And apparently they had driven through the night. The coach let one of the seniors, but the high school students, drive. He fell asleep. The van left the highway. They were on a tollway, and the van left the highway, went over a culvert and hit a road sign somehow and flipped 3 or 4 times and ended up upside down on the side of the road. And this is all how many hundreds of miles away. And the telephone call was from the doctor, from a plastic surgeon, who told me that Lori had, I don't know if he said extensive or extreme or something with facial injury. She had extreme facial lacerations, and she needed immediate plastic surgery. And I asked if he could wait, you know, how bad is it? You know, is she okay? Well, she was living, you know, everybody was living. How bad was it? And he would only say it's very extreme, or it's very, I forget what it was, but anyway, I had a horrible picture and it had to be done. I asked if it could wait till I could get there, and it couldn't. He said, explain to me about the healing process, and it happens right away. And especially with facial features, you have to take care of it right away. And they needed our permission. He already had Sam's permission. He got mine. And so that's just one of those calls you never, ever want to get, because it's just the unknown. You just don't know what's on the other end. I wasn't as independent. I wasn't as independent then probably as I am now. So, you know, I had to arrange the flight by myself, and the airline, you know, Sam didn't come because he had to stay here to work, and I did. And so I just remember being so scared. Remember being so scared for her health and for her beauty and for her, if there was disfiguration, or, you know, what the surgery would look like, and the unknown. You don't know what you don't know. And I wasn't there close enough, and it took hours, you know, the whole day to get there. And walking into the hospital in Florida, There were a lot of mothers around the hallway. Well, I keep thinking 12, so there must have been 12. I wonder if that's significant with the disciples. I don't know. I keep thinking there were 12. The very good news was that all of them were either unharmed or nobody died. Nobody was, well, some were critically injured, but all are fine now, but we didn't know that. But everybody was in a state where they were being taken care of. I remember the nurse telling me to prepare myself. It's all of this, you're just so anxious to get to your child and to love your child and to put on this face like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, but you don't know what you're walking into. And Lori was in the room, had her surgery. She had a cut that came from the corner of her eye all the way down next to her nose, all the way down this way, and all the way out to this side. And of course, the stitches were black, and it just, this side of her face was completely, there was nothing wrong with it. This side looked like somebody had just taken her through a meat cutter, because it was just, it was a terrible look at first, but she's our daughter, and she's alive, and her eyes were not damaged, and her sight was not damaged, and she could talk. She hadn't looked at a mirror yet. She wanted to know what she looked like. And I remember telling her, I'm so sorry, that she was beautiful, just like she always was. And she is beautiful. And it was just that she had been repaired by the doctors. And so then we just had to wait for the rest of it. And it's just, I wish I could say that I remember thanking God at that moment for her life, or that I prayed to God to take care of her. I don't remember that. I just remember reacting to the situation, to get there, to our daughter, to do whatever I could do, to give permissions, whatever I needed to do, and to bring her back home. And we did. And like I said, in hindsight, the group was all fine. Everyone recovered. It's a miracle that none of those people, those teenagers, were killed. I remember Lori is a beautiful young lady. She's, I don't know, 46 or 44. I don't even know how old she is, but she has healed. I don't think you would know it if you didn't know it. It could have, as bad as it was, it could have been so much worse. And God brings you through those things. He brought me through my fear of getting there, and my fear of saying and doing and reacting the way that I wanted to do for her. He brought her through the healing process. And I remember going through the airport on the way home, and she was in a wheelchair. They thought her leg was broken at the time, but it was too swollen. And so she had her leg extended in a wheelchair, and she had these stitches on her face. They didn't wrap her face. They couldn't, because of the way it needed to heal. And I remember her looking around and saying, Mom, everybody's looking at me. And I remember saying, just smile at them and say hello. Just give them your best smile if you can, and just say hello, and or nod your head, but don't worry about what people are looking or saying. And I know people were curious. It wasn't a mean thing. It was just, I think you just have to have in your heart that God is going to take care of you, and that you're going to be okay. I wish I remembered thinking that, but I honestly do not remember it. But I think just my good old Lutheran heritage, that faith is down there deep, and it holds you, and it's your security blanket, and it gets you through what you need to. So I don't know, that came to mind, and that was a struggle, both emotionally and, I don't know if it was physically for Lori, emotionally for me. The healing came through, and I think it has made us all, and I don't want to forget this. So out of this, Lori has implemented, I think, her own Thank God I'm Alive Day. And it's June the 12th, the day that the accident happened. I think it was the very next year. It might have been the next year, but she calls it her Thank God I'm Alive Day, which my other daughter, Tammy, seems to think Lori just created the name for this day so that she can get extra gifts or flowers, because we all are made to celebrate it. We all are, if we can't forget it, because she starts reminding us a week or two in advance, you know what's coming up. It's my Thank God I'm Alive Day. And she does get extra perks from Sam and I, and she gets extra flowers or some special, and Tammy has said she's going to create her Thank God I'm Alive Day so that she can get extra gifts too. And I hope it won't take an accident like that to do. I think that we all have Thank God I'm Alive days. And it could be every day with no catastrophes, or it could be a special day. But June the 12th is Lori's. And so we celebrate her every day, but we especially celebrate her on June the 12th because she was returned home to us whole and healed and good to go.
That is such a powerful story, Patsy. Thank you for sharing. I can't imagine the terror of being handed a phone and not knowing what's going on with your child in another state. So I so deeply appreciate your vulnerability and sharing with us. You've already touched on the question, but I wanted to ask it directly as well. You know, sometimes we, in a hard situation, we don't know what hope looks like. Sometimes it takes looking back years later and seeing how hope showed up unexpectedly. It sounds like your faith was sort of a quiet but deep sustaining part of your family moving through this time. As you look back on it, are there other ways that hope showed up for you, or what did hope look like?
I think that my faith is that slow journey. I feel like I was born into it. I feel like my parent, I think I got there by example. I know my parents lived it. I know we as a family lived it. I think that it was just the rock at the bottom that held things together. As I was thinking about this prior to our call, I remember on Sunday, part of your sermon, you were talking about different situations, and you said when you can't sleep, God is there, and when you can't do this, God is there, God is there, God is there. Well, God was there. I think as I look back, God was in that van or around that van, or his hands or his angels lifted up that van and put it down more gently than it would have been. God took care of those children and those adults. God was there, and he was there with the surgeon that took such good care of Lori. He was there with me to get me there. And I think hope just looks like every day, part of our life journey, there are little messages, or there are little times that we may not see God's presence in that particular moment, but the hope is that he's there. And if he's a part of my life today and tomorrow, he will always be a part of my life as long as I allow him in. You know, I know my family, and I'm sure the members at Zion helped me through that time, and they were a part of my hope. There's a lot of it I don't remember because I think you just moved through it, but I loved what you said Sunday, that God is there, and he was there, and he is still there, and that's my hope, that he will be there.
Well, thank you, Patsy. Now that you have all of us crying.
I'm sorry, me too. I can't cry alone. You have to cry with me.
That's right. Well, we are so grateful again for your sharing and your really thoughtful faith and the eyes of faith that you help us see through. So we are really grateful for your time this evening. Thank you, Patsy.
Thank you.